Welcome back. Today I thought I would make a video on one of the most common topics in golf, especially for beginners, and that is how can you fix your slice once and for all. My guess is that it's probably one of the most searched videos, so I thought I would kind of give my take on it and how to correct your slice, because it can be a very frustrating shot, and if you don't know kind of the concepts behind why it happens, then it makes it really difficult to fix it. So first and foremost, I hit a shot here that created kind of a slice shape. So we're going to break it down and talk about how it happened and then what things we can do to change it, with regards to mechanics, but also concepts and what we're thinking about when we're trying to hit the golf ball. So number one, the first thing that we need to realize is the ball flight is dictated by the relationship between the club face when it strikes the ball and the club path when it's working through the ball. So what creates a slice is when the path is usually out to in, so it's cutting across the golf ball, and then the face is open to the path. So this last shot that I hit here, the path was 3.6 degrees out to in. So I'll use the orange stick to kind of show that. So the club was traveling 3.6 out to in, or to the left for me as a right-handed golfer. And then the club face was 1.3 degrees open to the target line. So now we can see that. So I'm using the white one to show the club face, and that's when it struck the golf ball. So the difference between these two is the more the club face and the path get separated, the more curvature you get in the ball. The closer the club face and club path get together, the straighter golf shot you're going to get. So that's why it's really difficult to hit one dead straight that doesn't curve, because both need to be zeroed out and straight at the target line. So the first thing that we need to do to correct a slice is we need to get the club face closed to the path. So what that basically means is the club face needs to be more left than what the path is. A lot of coaches that I've worked with or seen coach, they are adamant that you must correct the club face first before the path. I am not super strict on that. I think that as long as you correct both, that's what ultimately what you're going to need, but I'm not a stickler for you need to correct the face before the path. As long as both get fixed, then that's fine. And if you correct the path first and then the face, that's completely okay. So what we're going to do first and foremost to try and correct this is just understand the concept of the golf swing. And this is where I think a lot of players start slicing it, especially beginners, is they imagine the golf swing as being a very straight line towards the target. And what happens when we think of the golf swing in straight lines, ultimately it gets us cutting across the ball because we're trying to keep it on line. And usually what happens is the player will try and take it straight back, and then as they come through it, because they start to rotate through the ball, everything starts going left, and now they have created an out to in path. And then in an effort to keep the ball going straight, they do not release the club face, and they keep the club face, try to keep it square, but actually stays open. So then you've got a path going left and a club face that is right. So then you get a ball that starts a little bit right, and then it curves even more to the right. So first and foremost, we need to know that the concept of the golf swing is not straight lines, and that it works on an arc up and around the body, and that the club is working up and around, back down, and then back up and around. And if we can imagine a big hula hoop going up and around us, that's the way the club is swinging. We're not trying to keep it on straight lines. So the easiest drill that we can do is take the two sticks, and we're going to create a guide reference. So this is mainly for the path, and I have it set up where it is going quite severely out to the right, because we need to get this path changed from going this way to going more into out. So if I was looking at it from this angle face on, I would see a clock face, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. We want the club to travel from 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock coming through. Whereas before, if you're slicing it, you're more than likely traveling 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So that's the first thing we want to accomplish. So the drill would be, we want to start in our setup position. We're then going to put the club out in front, and I'm gonna twist the face so it is closed over and it matches this white stick up here. And then the sensation I'm gonna get is I'm gonna swing back along the orange stick. When I come back down, the shaft is now parallel to the orange stick, and then I'm gonna let the face roll over and release so that it gets back to that same position it began, and then the club is traveling out down the white stick, so we're getting an excessive in to out path. So what usually happens when I see players do this, they'll get the path really good, but they don't know how to control the face yet. So they'll hit a shot with a really good path that's in to out, but then the club face is still open, and they'll hit a shot that goes straight to the right. So usually it'll look a little like this. And we get that one, it just goes straight right. And this is where we need to differentiate. This is not a slice, it's a block. So we have achieved one thing here. We've achieved the path, and we've changed the path. We'll see here in a second. Before, the path was 3.5 degrees across the ball. Now we can see that the path is 2 degrees in to out. So the path has changed from 3 across it to 2 degrees in to out. But what we didn't fix was the club face. So the club face was 8.2 open that time. So that tells us that, right, we were good on the path. We were swinging down this line much better, coming from the inside, not coming over the top. But we didn't do good in controlling the club face and getting it back to square or back to less than that 2 degrees. So ideally, if we can get a path that's 2 degrees into out or around that, we then need to control the club face and make sure that it's less than 2 degrees to the right, and that's going to make the ball come back. So the next thing that I would look with the player would be, how are we controlling the club face? And one of the main things would be the grip. So a lot of players will see they have a really weak left hand grip. So their left hand is rotated for a right hand golfer too much this way, and then when you look down you can only see one knuckle. So this is actually used by some professional golfers and good players, but a lot needs to be done to manipulate the face. So it's much easier if we can just get a neutral grip or even slightly stronger, because that's going to give us a little more range of motion in the wrist and forearms to get the face back to square. And then the main thing that we want to feel is when we get to the top of the backswing, that the left wrist is nice and flat or even slightly bowed, and that's going to keep that club face square when it comes through. And then as we come through, we're not scared to let the toe pass the heel. So you'll see a lot of players talk about, oh, I'm flipping the club. If you are a slicer, this could be the best thing that ever happens in your golf swing, is you want to let the toe pass the heel and release the golf club, because the ball is never going to go right if you do that with a good path. So on this one, I'm going to make sure the grip is good. I'm going to make sure that at the top my wrist is nice and flat, and then as I'm coming through, I'm still swinging down these lines. I'm going to let the club face roll over. The toe is going to point up to the sky. I'm in a position here that I can kind of shake hands. Most slicers, when they come through, they'll get in this position where they're very narrow and their palm almost points up to the sky. So I'm really wanting to feel like I'm extending, as if I could shake hands with someone. I'm not in this little like T-Rex position with palm up to the sky. So now we'll try the same drill. So I'm good set up. I'm getting that feel up here, back here, down the line, let it release. And now we can see that ball starts to draw even close to a hook, which would be exactly what I want a slicer to do. If we can get them to hook it, then that's the opposite end of the spectrum. So now they know what the feeling is to correct the slice. So if we look at that shot, we're going to see the path in the face. The path was 4 degrees in to out, and then the face was 2 degrees, or sorry, the path was actually 8 degrees in to out, and the face was 2 degrees open. So we've fixed the path in the face. The path has went from 3 across it to 8 in to out, which is quite excessive, but that's good if we're trying to fix the slice. And then we've controlled the club face where it is less open than the path. So what that would look like if we go back to the sticks, it would be, the path would be traveling in to out, and then the face would be slightly open to the target line, but it is more left than the path, and that's what creates that draw. So you can, technically, your face is open to the target and you can still hit a draw, but it is close to the path, and that's the key. If the face ever gets open to the path, then that's when you're in trouble and it's going to slice. So those are some of the main things, and that's a good little progression that you can go through to fix the slice. There's a lot more detail with body mechanics, but this is kind of just like a basic drill that you can begin with to eliminate that slice, and the concepts of what causes it and how you can fix it and get it turning the other direction, because that's ultimately the best thing a slicer can see is a hook, and then they can kind of meet in the middle and get the feel for what a draw would be. So thank you for watching. Let me know if you've got any questions on any of that stuff. And I'll make a future video just on more body mechanics and how that can lead to slices as well.